Am I the asshole for leaving my girlfriend in the forest after she punched me and demanded to get out? Hey, before we move on to the video, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Thanks. I know the title sounds horrible, but please hear me out. This happened 3 months ago, and I'm still dealing with the fallout. I need to know if I'm actually the monster everyone thinks I am. For context, I'm 25M and my now ex-girlfriend Sarah is 23F. We dated for 2 years, and I thought I was in love with her. Sarah is the type of person who comes across as absolutely charming and sweet to everyone she meets. She has this way of lighting up a room and making people feel special when they talk to her. Everyone always told me how lucky I was to have such an amazing girlfriend. What they didn't see was what happened behind closed doors. Sarah had this pattern of behavior that I didn't fully recognize until it was too late. Whenever we had any kind of disagreement, no matter how small, she would escalate it into a huge fight. If I ever tried to express that something bothered me, she would turn it around and make me the bad guy. She was a master at playing the victim and making me feel like I was being unreasonable or cruel for even bringing up my concerns. Her favorite tactics included giving me the silent treatment for days, threatening to break up with me over minor issues, and making me grovel for forgiveness even when I hadn't done anything wrong. She would say things like, "Maybe we should just end this," or "I don't think you really love me," whenever I tried to have a serious conversation about our relationship. I'm naturally someone who hates conflict, so I would always be the one to apologize first, even when I knew I hadn't done anything wrong. I would buy her flowers, write her long texts explaining how much she meant to me, and basically beg her to forgive me for whatever imaginary slight had set her off. Looking back, I can see how toxic this was, but at the time I thought this was just how relationships worked. I thought I was being a good boyfriend by putting her feelings first and avoiding arguments. The physical stuff started about 6 months before the incident. At first, it was just little things. She would shove me playfully when she was annoyed, or slap my arm when I said something she didn't like. She would always laugh it off and say she was just being playful, so I didn't think much of it. But it gradually got worse. When she was really angry, she would push me harder, grab my arms tight enough to leave marks, or throw things at me. One time she threw a coffee mug at my head because I forgot to pick up her dry cleaning. It missed, but it shattered against the wall behind me. When I told her that wasn't okay, she started crying and said I was making her feel like a monster for having emotions. Again, I found myself apologizing to her. The worst part was that none of our friends or family members would have believed me if I had told them about this side of Sarah. To them, she was this petite, sweet girl who could do no wrong. I'm 6 feet 2 inches and she's maybe 5 feet 4 inches, so people would have probably laughed at the idea that she was physically aggressive with me. The incident that ended everything happened on a Sunday evening in March. We had driven up to visit Sarah's parents, who live about 2 hours away in a rural area. The visit had actually gone well, and I thought we were having a good day. The drive back takes you through some pretty remote areas. There's about a 45-minute stretch where it's mostly forest on both sides of the road, with just a few small towns scattered along the way. We were about halfway home when Sarah started getting upset about something that had happened at dinner. Her parents had complimented me on a work promotion I'd recently gotten, and apparently Sarah felt like they were paying more attention to me than to her. This was completely ridiculous because the conversation had lasted maybe 2 minutes, and the rest of the evening had been focused on her new job in her life. But Sarah was convinced that I had somehow stolen her spotlight. She started accusing me of always trying to make everything about myself, of being an attention seeker, of not caring about her feelings. I tried to stay calm and point out that I had barely said anything during dinner, that her parents were just being polite. This made her even angrier. She said I was gaslighting her, that I was trying to make her feel crazy for having valid emotions. The accusations kept getting more and more outrageous. She said I probably flirted with the waitress at the restaurant where we'd had lunch. She said I was probably cheating on her with my coworker Jessica, who I had mentioned exactly once in passing. I made the mistake of laughing at that last accusation because it was so absurd. Jessica is married with 3 kids, and we've never had a single conversation that wasn't about work. But my laughter sent Sarah into a complete rage. She started screaming at me, calling me names I won't repeat here. She said I was a lying, cheating piece of garbage, that she should have listened to her friends who told her I wasn't good enough for her. She was getting louder and louder, and I was trying to concentrate on driving while she berated me. Then she said the thing that changed everything. You know what? I'm done with this. I'm done with you. Pull over right now and let me out. I'd rather walk home than spend another second in this car with you. I told her she was being ridiculous, that we were in the middle of nowhere and it was getting dark. I said we could talk about this when we got home, that there was no reason to do anything dramatic. She kept demanding that I pull over. Let me out right now. I mean it. Stop this car and let me out. I refused, trying to de-escalate the situation. I said we were almost to the next town and I could drop her off there if she really wanted, but that I wasn't going to leave her on the side of a dark road. That's when she lost it completely. She started hitting me. Not playful slaps, but real punches to my face and shoulder while I was trying to drive. She was screaming, let me out, and hitting me over and over. I was trying to keep the car steady while she was punching me, and I could feel us starting to swerve. I was terrified we were going to crash. There were trees on both sides of the road, and if I lost control, we could have been seriously hurt or killed. I shouted at her to stop hitting me, that she was going to cause an accident, but she wouldn't listen. She kept punching me and screaming. Finally, I saw a safe place to pull over, and I did. We were at the top of a small hill, and I could see the lights of the next town spread out below us. It wasn't far at all, maybe 2 or 3 miles of downhill walking along a well-lit road. The second I stopped the car, Sarah jumped out and slammed the door. She started walking toward town without looking back. I sat there for a few minutes, trying to calm down and figure out what to do. My face was throbbing where she had hit me, and I was shaking from the adrenaline. Part of me wanted to just drive after her and try to convince her to get back in the car, but I was also terrified that she would start hitting me again. After about 10 minutes, I drove slowly alongside her and rolled down the window. I asked if she wanted to get back in the car and we could figure this out. She turned around and told me to leave her alone, that she never wanted to see me again, and that I should just go. So I did. I drove home, and I spent the whole night worrying about her. I kept checking my phone to see if she had texted me or called, but there was nothing. I finally fell asleep around 4 a.m. The next morning, I woke up to 47 missed calls and over 100 text messages, but none of them were from Sarah. They were from her friends, her family, my friends, even my own family members. And they were all saying the same thing, that I was a monster who had abandoned my girlfriend in the middle of a forest, that she could have been killed, that I was an abuser, and they never wanted to see me again. Apparently, Sarah had made it back to town just fine, but that's not the story she told everyone. According to Sarah, I had driven her out to the middle of a dark forest and left her there with no phone, no money, and no way to get home. She said she had to walk for over 10 miles in complete darkness, that she was terrified the whole time, that she thought she might die. She posted on social media about her terrifying experience being abandoned in the wilderness. She shared photos of her feet with blisters, claiming she had to walk barefoot after her shoes fell apart. She said she had to hide in the bushes when she heard cars coming because she was afraid they might be dangerous. The story kept getting more and more dramatic every time she told it. By the time it reached my family, she was claiming that I had driven her hours away from civilization, that there were wild animals, that she had to drink water from a stream to survive. None of it was true. We were never more than a few miles from town. The road was well-lit and well-traveled. She had her phone and her purse with her when she got out of the car. But nobody wanted to hear my side of the story. My own mother called me crying, asking how I could do such a horrible thing to someone I claimed to love. My sister said she was ashamed to be related to me. My best friend since high school told me he didn't know who I was anymore. Sarah's father left me a voicemail saying that if I ever came near his daughter again, he would kill me. Her brother showed up at my workplace and caused such a scene that my boss had to call security. I tried to explain what really happened, but nobody would listen. They all said I was trying to justify domestic abuse, that there was no excuse for what I had done. When I mentioned that Sarah had been hitting me while I was driving, they acted like I was making it up. Sarah played her part perfectly. She acted traumatized and heartbroken, like she couldn't believe the man she loved had tried to hurt her. She kept saying things like, "I never thought he was capable of something like this," and "I guess I never really knew him at all." Several of our mutual friends organized an intervention for me. They sat me down and told me I needed to get help for my anger issues, that I needed to take responsibility for what I had done and make amends to Sarah. I was so confused and hurt by everyone's reaction that I started to wonder if maybe I really was the monster they all thought I was. Maybe I should have just let her hit me and driven her all the way home. Maybe I had overreacted by leaving her there. I actually went to a therapist because I was so messed up by the whole situation. The therapist helped me realize that I wasn't crazy, that what Sarah had done to me was abuse, and that I had every right to protect myself. But the damage was already done. I lost several close friendships over this. My relationship with my family was strained for months. I had to deal with dirty looks and whispered conversations whenever I went out in public, because Sarah had made sure everyone in our social circle knew her version of the story. The worst part was that Sarah seemed to be thriving on all the attention and sympathy. She started a blog about surviving domestic abuse and got hundreds of supportive comments from strangers. She was invited to speak at a local women's shelter about her experience. I felt like I was going insane. I knew what had really happened, but everyone else was living in this alternate reality where I was a dangerous abuser and Sarah was an innocent victim. This went on for about 2 months. I was basically a social pariah, and Sarah was being treated like a hero for speaking out about domestic violence. Then something happened that changed everything. Sarah had started dating a new guy, someone she met through her domestic violence advocacy work. His name was Mike, and by all accounts he seemed like a decent person. He was a lawyer, very respectful and professional, exactly the kind of guy Sarah's family would approve of. About 3 weeks into their relationship, Sarah's best friend Emma witnessed something that made her question everything she thought she knew about Sarah. Emma had gone over to Sarah's apartment to drop off some clothes she had borrowed. She had a key, so she let herself in without knocking. She found Sarah and Mike in the middle of a huge fight. According to Emma, Sarah was screaming at Mike and throwing things at him, just like she used to do to me. But this time, Emma could see the whole situation clearly, without Sarah's manipulation and lies to explain it away. Mike was trying to calm Sarah down, speaking in a reasonable voice and trying to de-escalate the situation. Sarah was the one being aggressive and abusive. Emma watched Sarah slap Mike across the face and then immediately start crying and accusing him of making her feel unsafe. It was the exact same pattern of behavior she had used on me, but Emma was seeing it for the first time without Sarah's spin on it. Emma left without Sarah or Mike seeing her, but she couldn't stop thinking about what she had witnessed. She started remembering other incidents over the years where Sarah's version of events didn't quite add up, where the other person involved had seemed confused or hurt by Sarah's accusations. A few days later, Emma called me. She apologized for not believing me and asked if we could meet for coffee. When we met, she told me about what she had seen, and she asked me to tell her exactly what had happened the night I left Sarah on the road. I told her the whole story, including details I had never shared with anyone else. Emma listened without judgment, and when I was finished, she said something that almost made me cry. "I believe you. And I'm sorry it took me so long to see the truth." Emma started reaching out to other people who had been in Sarah's orbit over the years. She talked to Sarah's ex-boyfriends, her former roommates, even some family members who were willing to speak honestly about Sarah's behavior. The pattern was always the same. Sarah would create drama and conflict, then play the victim when people responded to her aggression. She had left a trail of damaged relationships and confused, hurt people who had been painted as the villains in her story. Emma also did some digging into Sarah's claims about that night. She found out that Sarah had actually called an Uber from town to get home, not walked the whole way like she claimed. She had photos on her phone that were taken well before midnight, contradicting her story about walking in the dark for hours. Most damaging of all, Emma discovered that Sarah had posted a Snapchat story from a gas station in town less than an hour after I had left her on the road. In the video, Sarah looked completely normal, not traumatized or exhausted. She was buying snacks and complaining about having to wait for a ride. Emma took all of this information to some of our mutual friends, and slowly the truth started to come out. People began to realize that they had been manipulated, that Sarah's story didn't hold up under scrutiny. A few of my closest friends reached out to apologize. They said they felt terrible for not believing me, and they wanted to make things right. My family was harder to convince, but eventually even they started to see that maybe Sarah wasn't the innocent victim she had portrayed herself to be. The breaking point came when Mike, Sarah's new boyfriend, reached out to me directly. He said that Emma had told him about our conversation, and he wanted to hear my story because Sarah was treating him the exact same way she had treated me. Mike told me that Sarah had been escalating their fights, getting physical with him, and then playing the victim when he tried to defend himself. He said she had already started telling people that he was abusive, laying the groundwork for her next victim narrative. Mike broke up with Sarah the next day, and he made sure to tell people exactly why. He didn't want to go through what I had gone through. and he didn't want Sarah to be able to destroy his reputation the way she had tried to destroy mine. When Sarah realized that her latest manipulation campaign wasn't working and that people were starting to see through her lies, she tried a different approach. She reached out to me directly, claiming that she wanted to apologize and make amends. She said she had been going through a difficult time and that she hadn't handled things well, but that she still cared about me and wanted to try to work things out. The old me might have fallen for this, but therapy had taught me to recognize manipulation tactics. I could see exactly what she was doing, trying to get back together with me because her other options had dried up, and attempting to control the narrative by positioning herself as the apologetic ex who was trying to make things right. I told her that I wasn't interested in reconciling, and that I thought it would be best if we didn't have any contact going forward. She didn't take this well. Within 24 hours, she was back to her old tricks, telling people that I was refusing to accept her heartfelt apology, that I was holding grudges and preventing her from healing and moving on. But this time, most people saw right through it. It's been about a month since all of this came to light, and I'm still dealing with the aftermath. Some of my friendships have been repaired, but others are permanently damaged. There are still people who think I'm lying or exaggerating about what Sarah did to me. My family relationships are slowly getting better, but there's still some tension there. My mother admitted that she was wrong not to believe me, but she also said she wished I had handled the situation differently. She thinks I should have been the bigger person and just driven Sarah home, regardless of how Sarah was treating me. I've learned a lot about myself through this whole experience. I've learned that I have a tendency to accept unacceptable behavior from people I care about, and that I need to be better at setting boundaries and standing up for myself. I've also learned that some people will always want to believe the most dramatic version of any story, regardless of the facts. Sarah knew exactly how to manipulate people's emotions and biases, and she was very good at it. The hardest part is knowing that Sarah is probably going to do this same thing to other people. She's already moved on to targeting new victims, and I'm sure she'll refine her techniques based on what she learned from her experience with me and Mike. I've thought about trying to warn people about her, but I know that would just make me look obsessed and vindictive. People have to learn these lessons for themselves, unfortunately. As for whether I'm the asshole in this situation, I honestly don't know anymore. I know that I didn't abandon Sarah in a dangerous wilderness like she claimed. I know that she was physically attacking me while I was driving, putting both of our lives at risk. I know that I had every right to protect myself and remove myself from an abusive situation. But I also know that the optics of the situation were terrible. I know that leaving a woman on the side of the road, even under these circumstances, looks bad. I know that some people will always see me as the villain in this story, no matter what the facts are. Maybe I could have handled it differently. Maybe I should have called the police when she started hitting me. Maybe I should have driven to the nearest town first, even if it meant enduring more abuse. But in that moment, with Sarah punching me in the face while I was trying to drive, I made the best decision I could with the information I had. I got us both to safety, and I removed myself from a dangerous situation. I'm not proud of how everything turned out. I wish I had recognized Sarah's manipulative behavior earlier and ended the relationship before it got to that point. I wish I had been better at standing up for myself and setting boundaries from the beginning. But I'm not sorry for protecting myself that night, and I'm not sorry for refusing to accept blame for Sarah's abusive behavior. I just want to know, given all the facts, was I really the asshole in this situation? Update. Thank you to everyone who has responded. Reading your comments has been incredibly validating, and it's helped me realize that I'm not crazy for thinking that Sarah's behavior was unacceptable. A few people have asked about whether I ever got any kind of official documentation of what happened. I didn't call the police that night, which I now realize was a mistake. If I had, there would have been an official record of Sarah's claims versus the actual facts of the situation. I did take photos of the bruises on my face and arm the next day, and my therapist has notes from our sessions where I described the abuse. It's not much, but it's something. I've also been advised by several people to document any future attempts by Sarah to contact me or spread lies about me. I'm hoping she's moved on to other targets and will leave me alone, but I know that's probably wishful thinking. Update 2. Sarah tried to get back in touch with me again last week. She sent me a long email talking about how she's been in therapy and has learned to take responsibility for her actions. She said she wanted to apologize properly and asked if we could meet for coffee to talk things through. I didn't respond to the email, but I did forward it to my therapist and to Emma. My therapist said it was a classic example of hoovering, which is when an abuser tries to draw their victim back into the relationship after other tactics have failed. Emma said that Sarah had been asking mutual friends about me, trying to find out if I was dating anyone new and whether I had moved on from our relationship. Emma thinks Sarah is planning some kind of new manipulation campaign, possibly positioning herself as the ex who has grown and changed and deserves a second chance. I'm not falling for it this time. I blocked her on all social media platforms, and I'm not responding to any attempts at contact. I've learned my lesson about giving manipulative people second chances. Thanks again to everyone who took the time to read my story and offer support. It means more than you know. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button.